All right, so guys, we're so close to the actual Madden launch. I mean, where we're at right now, I guess this is it's the Christmas Eve equivalent in the Madden universe as we get ready to get things kicked off here. Obviously, there's a lot of solos and a lot of things to do out there. Zona, anything specifically that caught your eye as far as when you were looking through the different solos and the rewards and things available that you feel is best suited to tackle first?
Yeah, definitely. I think taking a look at those, we're heading towards the campaign, man. There's good rewards at the end. One offensive player, one defensive player. The offense has not as many good options there, but defense, a lot of good options for the defense.
Coming
So
up
I'm gonna head
at
towards the
the end.
campaign and look at getting the rewards out of that first.
Gotcha. So you're saying the offensive players are trash, and and the
Yeah, for
defensive
sure.
players are definitely, we've caught your attention a little bit. Looking at these options, I mean, you have 87 overall Joey Bosa, Cam Chancellor, Deion Jones, Telvin Smith. Um, that's a tough choice. I mean, game changers literally at every level there for the taking once you complete this set. Who's your pick out of that group?
All those super awesome, man. All of them fill a great role. Cam's gonna be great in the box. Joey Bosa, if you're on a user, he's probably going to be real nice for you. I'm definitely going Telvin, though. I think Telvin, with his height, decent speed, I think he's 83, 84 there.
Hmm.
Early season, that's real solid for an outside linebacker, and we play a lot of squads, so someone's going to have a lot of fun being a user Telvin out there. I'm going with Telvin.
Yeah, I was actually going to thank you for that because in squads I'm usually on the right outside linebacker, so I do look forward to getting a lot of reps in with Telvin out there and making some plays and some highlights and some things like that. Joe, looking at this list of defensive players here. Joey Bosa, Cam Chancellor, Deion Jones, Telvin Smith. What's your pick here once you knock out those solos?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I like having a nice speedy linebacker that I could roll around with. But obviously I'm also an Ohio State guy, so Joey Bosa might be the way to go there as well. Just to for the noob, the MUT noob that I am. So we basically get a pick, one of each, one offense, one defense. Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
By the end of the solos, yeah, you got to complete them, get towards the end, and you'll be able to pick one of each.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I kind of just got not to just copy everything that Zona said, but yeah, I mean the linebackers, Telvin Smith, he's he's probably going to be one of the ones that I'm going to target as well. Um,
We didn't mention Deion Jones. I can't just let him go unmentioned. Deion Jones is in there as well, man. Super great option there. I'm going to be working towards Shazier, picking up Ray Lewis. So probably won't be working on that Deion, but Deion's an amazing choice in that group as well that I didn't mention.
And that's why they call
Yes.
me Francis.
You know what, guys? Also, and I'm sorry about this. We neglected to mention that Marcus Peters is a choice there as well. Fran, what are your thoughts on this group of players here? Who do you think is the choice?
Outside of one, Hus, what's the term, man? What's the term we use, man?
Uh,
Trash buckets. We got some trash buckets out here, and really, it's not because of the individual card. Like, look, I mean, if the jersey or the cap you throw on is the same color as one of these guys, you got to roll that way, right? I mean, there's definitely homerism involved there, but um, a good back like LaShawn McCoy is going to be rendered, I wouldn't say useless, but not the way to go when there's already going to be an 88 Saquon for the people that are porting over from MUT 18, right? Outside of that, gosh, if you're one of the Steeler Nation, I guess your play has been Roethlisberger.
hey
He
man.
could be a viable option, and nothing for nobody for not for me and mine, but definitely for the community at large. But honestly, personally, my play would be Zach Ertz here. Um, he's gonna have 92 catch, 91 catch in traffic zone. And
Yep.
on top of that, he's a clutch player. I mean, to get a clutch
90
player early
catch,
on,
91 traffic. Really solid.
there it is. So to get a clutch player early on, I mean that means a lot.
Six
You're
five
you're
two.
you're 6'5". Your tight end's your safety valve. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we beat guys over the middle in squads play, in the red zone play with a guy like this. So he definitely could be outside of Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, and I'm with you there. Offensively, this list, they're just there's a lot to be desired. You really don't have a superstar on the offensive side, with the exception of Ben Roethlisberger. I think that if you are a Steelers fan, or if you're someone that wants to have a great deal of consistency at QB, and you want to do that in an economic way, and also just looking at the rest of the guys on this list, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is really the choice there, and you may not even necessarily be thinking QB, but it's just that LaShawn McCoy. I mean, I can't see why you would make that choice here unless maybe this is your first year playing and you haven't gotten a single running back up until that point that you feel comfortable with. Zach Ertz is probably the play. I think that Julian Edelman, unfortunately, in the MUT universe, there's really no way to truly utilize a player with his skill set until they kind of do some things in terms of the gameplay to make it where a guy like Julian Edelman can really stand out in the MUT universe. Right now, the way that the game plays, there's very little value in a 5'10 receiver with 80 speed and 86 catch. So, there's just not a lot there. Zach Ertz is probably the play there. I mean, if you're not going quarterback, it almost has to be Zach Ertz as your offensive player. Golden Tate, I don't even know if he's worth mentioning. I mean, once again, kind of in the same boat as Julian Edelman, 5'10 receiver, 83 speed, 86 catch. I mean, those are just numbers that I don't need. I don't want to grind solos for 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever this is going to take, and walk away with Golden Tate, aka Golden training points, in my opinion. So yeah, offensively, there's not much there. Defensively, this is an interesting choice. I mean, you have Deion Jones here. We talked about all of these options in the pod at middle linebacker. Obviously a great choice. 84 speed this early in the MUT season. Phenomenal card. You're looking at Telvin. 90 play rec, 83 speed. He's got the block shed. He's got pretty good hit power, 84. Not the best, but that's really good in the early stages. Marcus Peters, I can't really see this as the choice. 85 speed corner. I know that the corners aren't going to be really fast at this stage, but he's probably your nickel. I don't know if you do 4 hours or 3 hours of solos for a nickel corner. He does have the 83 catch. I know everyone in this group is super big on the catch rating, especially, I mean, for corners. It's one of those things that is kind of overlooked when people are looking at corners. I actually would take a higher catch rating over a higher zone, but that's a conversation for another day. But I can't really see you putting in the work to grab essentially what's a nickel corner. Joey Bosa, the card looks great. You can't really go wrong there if you haven't addressed your D-line by the time you finish those. That's a good pick. And Cam Chancellor, I'm not a fan of the MUT and EA mantra over the last couple of years that strong safeties and free safeties are really slow. I don't really subscribe to that. With that being said, though, it is what it is. It's a part of the game. 91 power, 86 zone, 82 speed, 90 play rec. I'm assuming that this card is going to put you up there for some thresholds for strong safety chem. Is that enough to make this your choice after grinding out the solos over Deion Jones or Telvin Smith? I don't know. I think that Marcus Peters and Cam Chancellor are probably the two cards that are left out. So if we were doing a hierarchy, I think it would be a coin flip between Deion Jones and Telvin Smith, and Joey Bosa then at a close second. So yeah, I mean that's just the way I see it. I mean, but offensively, whoever was in charge of this list, they might want to. I don't know. They got to talk to the boss or something like that. They fell asleep at the wheel here on that one.
It was a Friday mail-in. That's what that was.
Yeah, that's like, when you're up against a deadline and you realize that you haven't really done anything and you're like, oh shoot, the list is due, but you're trying to get out of there on a Friday afternoon. So, yeah. But speaking of grinding and the time investment, EA kind of dropped a bombshell on a lot of people with the changes to MUT Master and how you're going to go about acquiring the card and leveling up the card and powering up the card. So the biggest change, of course, is that one, the card is going to be able to be powered up over time, which before you just grinded it out and eventually got the final version of the card. But also, I think an even bigger change is just the way that you're going to go about powering up that card, whereas in years past, you were required to do tasks in every single aspect of MUT. Get into salary cap, get into these other modes, complete every single solo that was out there, complete tons of sets. I mean, it was in Zona, I think you could speak to this. A couple of years ago, you literally had to basically do every single thing in the game mode. I think you had to do every set in every single solo to get the master. Clearly, this is a seismic shift from EA saying, hey, just go ahead, play the game how you want, pile up stats, and just through your stat piling or stat padding or whatever you want to call it, you're going to be rewarded with the opportunity to have this particular player and to have him at a very nice overall. So Zona, as someone who has done MUT Master in the past on several occasions, what are your thoughts and feelings on this change as far as how you're going to go about getting your hands on this year's MUT Master?
The change is welcome, man. Seems like it's going to be way, way easier than it was in years past. Last year there was some really grindy stuff in that collection of challenges, so I do like it. I'll be chasing it right from the beginning. Last year I waited quite a while. I believe it was a Christmas Day Master last year, so waited about 4 months. It won't take nearly that long this year. We'll be masters fairly quick this year.
And as someone, Zona, who was dedicated to the grind and got it done, do you feel that this takes away from the experience? Now that it's not as exclusive, I mean, does that sour the experience at all for you?
Not for me, not at all, man. I want to get out there, play with the homies. I really don't want to grind solos or waste a lot of time in challenges and whatnot. So, no, I just want to chase that master and get him out there on the field in squads, man. That's what I'm going after. I think that'll be a lot easier this year.
Yeah, and I tend to agree. I think that the argument is always right, hardcore versus casual. Is it too casual? Is it too hardcore? I'm typically along the lines of anything that incorporates as much of the player base as possible is generally a good thing. When you're looking at that list, there's some extensive, lofty, milestones that you have to hit. So they're definitely not just giving it away. But the fact that it is something that people can obtain just playing the game however they would like to play the game, I definitely can't argue with that. Steely, for someone who's relatively new to MUT, you saw the list of things that it's going to take for you to be able to fully max out Ryan Sazier. What are your thoughts on the list and what you have to do to get it done?
Anything that allows me to just play MUT squads and solos and get a master, I'm excited about. Like Zona was saying, I don't have to go in and do salary cap. I don't have to go in and, complete every set because that would never happen. So just the fact that it allows me to play in my spare time and still grind towards a pretty nice reward, that makes the grind even more worth it, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
I definitely like the changes personally. Um,
Yeah, I mean, who can argue with being rewarded for grinding? Fran, just looking at the promo and the way that it's structured, is this something that you think is good for Mutt? Maybe easing back a little bit on some of the, I guess you would say hardcore grindier aspects and kind of making the overall system a little bit more friendly for everyone or
Absolutely.
accessible,
I mean,
maybe is a better term.
it, accessible, yeah, the definitely. Really, what it boils down to is the theme of what everybody's saying is we want the grind. We don't mind the grind, but we want the grind to at least be tied into what we're already doing, right? Once you take us offline and away from what we're already doing, like for instance, squads. I mean, outside of the implied records in the Super Bowl and outside of the number that you needed for the Sean Taylor Master, I mean, the games really didn't mean much, you know. The fact that they've made that um, more what's the word I'm looking for? Inclusive into what's being done. The fact that they uh, there's more reward to it, like a lot, you know. The fact that you can play any mode you want to and still get these things. The streamline was the word used earlier. So it's been streamlined. We appreciate that, and that'll allow it to be a more natural thing. One of the things that was prevalent in the community in terms of what people were saying is just the mundane grind ad nauseum, the throw on your Netflix and get your second TV up and just press the buttons. You know, I mean, the poor Minnesota cornerback got beat ad nauseum, right? I mean, Terrence Newman, that's who it is. Terrence Newman, poor Terrence Newman, right? He got picked on ad nauseum. We don't want that mindless type of grind, right? And so to eliminate that, I think it's just bettering the EA brand.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm really not going to find an argument to force players to play modes and activities that really is of little interest to them, just for the sake of saying, hey, they did it as some sort of rites of passage to be able to acquire this card. And having seen this MUT Master iteration over many different years, in my opinion, I think that this is probably the best way to go about doing it because I hear what the hardcore players are saying. They're saying, well, last year I had Sean Taylor, and if you didn't do all of these things, well, you didn't. You'll still have those bragging rights because they're not just handing over a 90, a 94 MUT Master for completing the level one introductory solos to MUT. So even though people will have this card, only the real grinders and the most dedicated players, at least in the early goings, are going to have that particular card at its max and full potential, fully powered up. For many people, they're going to be chasing that carrot for a while as they continue to play the game, but it definitely gives them something to look forward to. I'm really excited for it because I never want to do a mode that I'm not really interested in. I mean, draft champions, it's cool, I guess. Salary cap, it kind of feels like a vestigial sort of tailbone from original MUT iterations. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. I mean, I know it's in MUT champions and stuff like that to kind of dictate a certain competitive balance. But for the most part, I mean, nobody's really into that, with the exception of a handful of players out there who feel that salary cap is where the real men play because real men don't need 99s. And I hear you guys loud and clear. But nonetheless, I mean, for the people that don't want to do that, not pigeonholing them into it and forcing them to do it, I can't see anything wrong with that. So kudos to EA.
Absolutely.
Welcome change.
Right. Just to piggyback on that, I mean, the journeys of last year, I mean, it offered you the 87 Devontae Adams. If you didn't grab that guy early on, I mean, there was just no incentive to grind out those challenges outside of just knocking out challenges for the 1500. So, yeah, I mean, adding things not for this just for the sake of adding things and adding them because they mean something towards your overall MUT progression. I mean, it's definitely welcomed.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. And so, guys, I mean that kind of wraps it up. We've covered pretty much everything there is to cover when it comes to the launch here in a matter of hours. Anything else you guys just want to throw out there or add that maybe we haven't touched on?
It's ready to
Jen's
play,
just
man. Ready to get to it tomorrow. Thanks to anybody that tuned in, man.
super excited. May the pack luck gods be with you, man. Hopefully the RNG gods are good to you, and definitely us. So definitely thank you for tuning in and listening to what the community has to say.
Joe?
Ditto to everything they said. I'm ready to get going. I'm ready to run some solos and play some squads, man. I guess I'm not really ready to run solos. I'm ready for the solo rewards. That's a better way to put it.
Absolutely. And big shout out to everybody who tuned in. This is our first podcast. It's been a long time in the makings. It's something that we've discussed. It's been a dream. It's been a passion. And we thank you to everyone who took the time out of their day to listen to this. We hope that you found a great deal of value in what we had to say and share with you. And obviously, of course, feel free to comment and let us know if we did a good job, or even let us know if you think we're a bunch of clowns as well. And that's okay, too. But nonetheless, whether you loved it or hated it, good luck to you in your MUT travels. I'm sure that we'll be crossing paths with a lot of you on PS4 as we play squads. And so, if you leave a negative comment, we'll probably, get some revenge on you in squads later. But
Run it up.
but nonetheless,
no mercy.
Yeah. But we thank you guys, man, and just hopefully, you guys enjoyed this, and we'll be bringing you more MUT Universe content as the season progresses, and we look forward to getting to know you guys as well. Thank you again.